pulling our legs.
We saw it. I believe them.
Yes, I believe them too.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. I mean, I'm kind of speechless with this film. There's an embarrassment of good stuff going on up on the screen. I mean, I'm overwhelmed by it all, and I almost don't know where to start. I know where to start. How do you get the job?
Well, it's actually very easy because I'd worked with Mark before on a film called Help, and he called me up to say, do you want to do Lord of the Flies? So I said yes. It was as simple as that. He sent me the scripts, but I mean, I didn't need to read the scripts. I just said...
You did that for Oda?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't... There's one job I didn't have to dance for my supper.
I mean, it's an exceptional bit. I mean, of filmmaking. I mean, it's proper filmmaking.
Thank
you.
You
You don't see much like that out there now, and I think it's the boldest thing I've seen in years, and sort of yes, and I think if there was Oscars for TV, but I mean, really, it's great. I mean, also it's such a deeply moving story, and it's sort of the fallacy of civilization. It's just holding a mirror up on so many levels, and it also seemed like, as projects go, you had a great leader in Mark.
Yeah, I mean, Mark. He's incredible to work with because he's so. I mean, unlike many directors, I guess he's very experimental. On set, you get the chance to just experiment. Oftentimes, we didn't really know how to get the shot, but he would just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And you don't get that luxury, as we all know, most of the time.
But also, you don't get that mindset, I think, so often in the current world of filmmaking. You've got showrunners in, there's kind of...
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, we were on a remote desert island, so we only had ourselves to blame.
To run the show, yes. But it also felt like all of the heads of department were kind of really in sync, on the same page.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I think that's Mark's kind of skill at gathering everybody together and making a sort of consistent approach.
I mean, and that says a lot for prep as well. I mean, I can imagine the prep, for you all to be on the same page, and I would imagine there's not a lot of time when you turn up.
Well, I actually did have quite a bit of time. I had 7 weeks in Malaysia.
Okay.
Then I had about another 4 in the UK.
Well, I mean, I think I was kind of getting at is when you actually pick up the camera and start shooting.
Oh, I see.
Because you got the kids and there's going to be restrictions. But in terms of, everybody, did you? So 7 weeks in Malaysia, and is that where you did all your testing?
No, well, most of it was in the UK.
Yeah.
The big thing was how we're going to shoot the night stuff.
Yes.
Because, I mean, I'd lit forest before, but I could, generally can only end up lighting patches of forest. And there's kids running through the forest, running along beaches. So I thought, how the hell am I going to do this? I mean, I just didn't know.
And so, I mean, it's you can't not see the, how you did it. I mean, it's the infrared, the day for night. Was that a very early decision?
Yeah, I mean, I'd seen a film called Nope, and I thought what they did there was incredible with the night stuff. But I think they had only, we've got a whole film full of night shots. Theirs was pretty limited, and they had a huge budget. We had a relatively small budget. But I did have 11 films, gave me about 10 grand to kind of research infrared. Okay. So I went to Germany to test out some infrared rigs and some 3D rigs that had been converted to infrared. So one camera would be RGB and the other would be infrared. And then you'd pixel match the 2 images. And then you could choose how much RGB or how much infrared you'd want. And that's in fact what they did on Nope. But so I tested these rigs, some amazing rigs. A tiny rig with 2 Blackmagic cameras on it, but it was just so technically finicky that it would have been a disaster to have taken that.
I mean, looking at the aesthetic of the whole film, tying. I mean, to go into that kind of rig thing after looking at everything else you've done, you've got a very mobile camera, and you're in their faces, and it's very reactive. Yeah. And to get into sort of clever rig stuff, and
I mean,
you can't do that with that. And
I mean, the technical side of it would have just taken over. But then Mark showed me pictures of that a photographer called Richard Moss had done in Africa, and he went to Africa to take pictures of child soldiers.
Yes, I
and it had
those pictures.
the forest was red.
Yes,
and he didn't know. Mark just showed me these pictures. He said, "Didn't they look amazing?" And I looked at them and thought, "Yeah, incredible." But surely there must be photoshopped. How do you create that color in camera? So then I just did a bit more research and found that he'd used a film called Aerochrome, Kodak Aerochrome, which was a film that the American military used, I think, in the 60s. And that film was infrared, and anything that was organically green would turn red. So that if there was a tank or any military equipment within a forest, that wouldn't, obviously the tanks are green, but because it's not organic, it would just stay a dark color. So that was their way of spotting hardware, basically.
Yeah.
So then I thought, oh wow, that it can actually be done in camera. But then obviously we're shooting digital, we're not shooting with aerochrome. And then I came across a filter that would actually create that aerochrome look in camera. So all that red, I mean, it's enhanced massively. Aidan is the colorist here tonight, so we owe a big debt of gratitude to him. So we could create that look. But and then subsequently, I found that some 60s photographers had used aerochrome to create the psychedelic kind of 60s look, and I think for one of Jimi Hendrix's albums is shot in aerochrome, and it's got that sort of psychedelic look about it.
So basically, it's just a filter.
It's just a filter, yeah. It's just a filter, but I had so many.
I'm playing it down.
Yeah, well, it is just a filter.
Yeah.
And many sleepless nights.
And could you monitor it at all? Or was it flying by the seat? Was it like shooting on film where you didn't really know what you were getting until?
Yeah, well, so I did all these tests, and Aidan was part of all the testing process. And so back and forth.
So was there a monitoring LUT so you could see?
Yeah, we made a monitoring LUT, but then in Malaysia for some reason it didn't work. So we just ended up getting the raw image out of the camera, which is slightly similar.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just doesn't look like night.
No.
So the whole thing about shooting day for night. Sort of. I mean, I still have nightmares about it. I still have sleepless nights because it's not night, but it's some weird sort of hallucinatory, psychedelic look, which actually fits. But I mean, I would not call it night.
It's film night. It's your night. It's the night that. I think we buy into these nights very, very quickly and very easily and accept it. And remarkably, we buy into pink night.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you see it once, you say, "Oh, what's going on there?" And you lull us in quite gently, and then it sort of ramps up, and then all of a sudden, this is what night is like on this island.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastically bold to do that. Again, so many people would just shy away, and
I mean,
for you and Mark to sort of kind of sign off on that as this is how we're going to do it, because there's no coming back in a way.
There's no coming back. And standing on a beach in 35 degrees, bright sunshine, sun everywhere, a white beach reflecting light everywhere, and you think, hang on a minute, we've got to try and make this look like night, is a bit worrying. But my daughter watches it. When I watched it with her first, she didn't know what it was. She didn't know what it was night. But she said, when I see the red coming, I know there's frightening things going to happen.
Yes.
So it kind of works
for
me if she says that.
And with the, and again, you've got some mammothly huge close-ups, and I mean, the faces of the kids. I mean, the casting is outstanding. I mean, and their performances, to be able to sit on those faces like that for so long, and you're on a wider lens, so you're up with them. You can feel their breath.
Yeah.
And so at times their faces almost age in shot, and they become old men, especially when they've killed the pig, and they're just sort of all of a sudden sort of little old old men, sort of. But with a lot of that work, obviously you were handheld, and did you have were you operating primarily?
Yeah, I kind of always operate because I just love operating, and I can't understand how one would not want to operate really.
And were you doing? There was also smooth running around operating as well.
There was. I used a Sony Venice.
Yeah.
The reason why I used that because I could take the front off and use it in Rialto mode.
Yes.
Because I'm 6 foot and the kids are sort of 5'4", so I'd be on the shoulder. I'd just be crouching. I mean, it'd be impossible. So I could use the Rialto there. And then what's great about the Rialto is that I could put it on a gimbal.
Yeah.
It's just about light enough to put on a gimbal and then run around with the kids.
Yeah, because there's a lot of chasing them around.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
A lot of chasing around.
Yeah.
And that was all. Oh.
I mean, also you could never shoot. The terrain was so rough.
Yeah.
You couldn't shoot with a Steadicam there. I don't think that would have worked.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you must have. And I love the way the focus. You allow them to come in. It feels it doesn't feel like it's hunting ever. It feels like it's not always in focus either, but it doesn't feel like it. It kind of feels very normal and very natural. And was that a decision as well, or was that?
Yeah, I mean, I love out of focus things.
Yeah.
I think often it's far more beautiful than something in focus. But as long as it comes into focus at the right moment, I think it doesn't matter if it's out of focus.
I mean, it's like old school focus pulling. I'm sure, where you just sort of you feel it, and you're part of the story where you're making decisions. You're almost doing more than the operator sometimes as a focus puller, as you decide when it's going to come in. And did you take your focus puller with you?
I did, yeah.
Because there's a lot of local crew.
Yeah, the one crew member I insisted on taking was my focus puller because he's very good at just doing things off the cuff. He doesn't need any. I mean, he's happy not to do too many rehearsals. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. What do they say? If you shoot the rehearsal, it's not a rehearsal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the lenses you were on, again, it was sort of the most bokehful.
Yeah, well, that was a big thing. I really wanted the island to just have its own kind of feel, completely different from the flashbacks. And I used to do a lot of 10:8 photography. Okay. And I loved the kind of swirly, out of focusness of the backgrounds, and it would only really work in foliage, in a forest, and I always I've always been searching for that look, and I had a Petzval lens that I did convert. I put a diaphragm into it and a PL mount, but it was just such a big clunky thing, and it was only one focal length. And then during this, I was just searching for lenses, and I just came across the DZO Parvo lenses, which are brand new anamorphics. And the 50 and the 24 has that kind of swirliness, which I loved. Yeah. And because I knew it was handheld, most of it was handheld. They're perfect, they're close focus, they're very light, and they had this sort of swirly look about them. And
so, and you used that set throughout, or was it just for those moments?
I mean, we had some of the big scenes where the whole cast are in. Just took so long. We had 2 cameras on those, and we used ingenue anamorphics for a lot of that. Yeah. We tried to shoot those more conventionally, and then after a day, we realised it just wasn't going to work because the kids they didn't have any sort of stagecraft or. Yeah.
Well,
that's a whole other story.
That is a whole other story.
Yeah.
Which, and so, I mean, and also I'm touching on that whole other story. I mean, you've got 40-odd kids out there. That must dictate your shooting day somewhat.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
I mean, how long were your shooting days?
Well, they were 10 hours, but I think 5 hours with the kids, and it was quite hard to stagger them all. So we very rarely had a whole 10-hour day with them.
Right.
And then there were things like you'd have all the kids there, and then a couple of them would have a fight. So that's another 20 minutes lost. Another one would get sand in their eyes. Another 20 minutes lost. Another one needs to go for a wee. That's another half hour.
Yeah.
So slow, the time is just whittled down. So yeah, we had very little time with them.
And it looks like quite a few of the shots. Looks like there's sort of some covert shooting going on.
Well, that was all sort of long lens zooms.
Yes,
just to be able to shoot them as just more in a sort of observational way, really. Because you just put those kids on the beach and they do these amazing things.
Yeah.
So
fill in
you
time.
just let them do what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, and so I mean the overall, within your 7 weeks of prep there and 4 weeks in the game, did you come up with kind of a visual Bible? Did you? I mean, did you know what you were going to be making? Did it turn out how you thought it would?
It's more of a feel that we had.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah.
We did actually storyboard everything. All the shots were storyboarded.
Wow.
Or shot listed.
Yeah.
And all the kind of action stuff was storyboarded. But it's hard to say. I didn't go into it thinking this is exactly how I know it's going to look.
But I mean, you touched on earlier that there was Mark allowed time to explore and find things, and I'm guessing you've got the kids are at that most, although they've probably been rehearsed to a point, they're kind of an unknown element in it, and then the cinematography is as big a character in the film as the boys, and so I'm guessing it's sort of to have that luxury to explore and pay and to build it into the schedule.
Yeah, we had 90 days to shoot that.
90 days, gosh, yeah.
But I mean, of that, probably like every day, the last 2 hours, we'd just shoot stuff like coconuts or weird things floating in the water or birds or whatever. There's a lot of that.
There's that amazing crab that comes out of the darkness. That was stunning.
Yeah, I mean, that's just stuff that happens around in the forest there.
Yeah. I mean, I must say I would have loved to have been wearing headphones with that soundtrack, with that Arvo Part playing.
I mean, it's
in
amazing,
Britain.
isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, the music is just again another one of those sort of overwhelming moments of sort of. Was that? I mean, I've always kind of felt that sound and music hides a multitude of visual sins. You can get
there's a lot of visual sins.
But it's like when watching rushes silently, there's nowhere to hide, and you put a bit of Benjamin Britten on, and you can just hide really well. But they sit so well together. Was that? Did you know what sort of music?
No, I had no idea.
Okay.
No, I mean I would love to have done, but I mean it's such an amazing fit.
It really is. Yes. Gosh. And I've got this sort of mess of notes here because I sort of went off on. As I said, I was so excited about it, and now my phone won't turn. There we go. And then I was going to ask you about. So you were shooting in Malaysia in Langkawi, 90 days, getting to location every day by boat.
Yeah, the island. One of the main islands was called Chaui, and that was like an hour's trip there. Yeah, hour's trip there and back.
Yeah.
And then there was lots of other locations in the rainforest. A lot of long walks into the rainforest. The scene where they're in the waterfall, that was like an hour's walk into the forest. with all the kids and all the equipment. So it was, I mean, I think that really, the hardship of it all really made it though.
I mean, I can imagine it was a very bonding experience.
It was,
at
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And the opposite sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, the kids just drove you mad a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But they were really great though.
Have you been asked to be godfather to anybody?
No,
yet? No.
fortunately.
Oh, and I want to come back a little bit onto the aesthetics of it, and you know, within your testing, did you do camera tests in the jungle?
No, I did camera tests on Hampstead Heath.
Oh, very good.
With my daughter. Got her running around.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's why Piggy wears red.
Okay.
Because my daughter had a red dress.
Yes.
And the contrast between the red and the green was just so like incredible that as soon as Mark saw that, he said, "Yeah, Piggy's got to wear red." Yeah. But yeah, a lot of running around Hampstead Heath, and we got chucked off by the park keepers as well. Weren't allowed to be there.
I can, but it's a very different green, isn't it? Though, or mind
It
you,
is,
maybe I'm thinking of Hampstead Heath in the summer when it's not even green.
Yeah, this is springtime. Probably.
So there's you got the and so that's when you ended up with Aidan and doing and with your rushes on set, did you when you were looking at rushes, if you had time and energy to look at rushes, or were you monitoring with the look applied? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I only had one light. I don't really generally have more than one or two because I'm operating. I'm not really sitting with the DIT.
Yeah. But on your monitor, have you got a monitoring light, or are you just looking at?
I look at the monitoring light. Yeah, I mean, I usually what I didn't like about the Rialto was you can't use it with a viewfinder.
Yeah.
And I hate operating off a monitor.
Yeah.
I always shoot through a viewfinder.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I was just looking at the LUT through that, but through a monitor, which was not so great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think sometimes when one develops a LUT and puts a lot into it, it also becomes I was saying earlier, the cinematographer becomes a character, but the LUT almost, it tells you when to tilt up the darkness. You find your frames with that richness of colour, the saturation.
Yeah, I mean, the LUT was not nearly like how it ended up. And in fact, generally, LUTs I just use as a quite neutral, a neutral LUT. Because, yeah.
And so, in terms of, did you know you were going to end up as saturated as you've ended up?
Probably not. I think that probably came later.
Right.
Yeah. I think Aidan definitely played a big part in that, and Mark, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think that what I love is everything is so super polished. Not to say this isn't polished, but everything is so polished. Everything is just so nice now, and this is just kind of primal and tribal.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy the messiness of it all. I think that's what I really like, and I didn't really want to. I wanted the kids to feel like often they were in really harsh light. I didn't use silks because, like in when Jack turns up in episode 1, he's got this horrible sort of squinty light over him, and I kind of still look at that and think, is that too much?
But I mean, then, the juxtapose is so nice when he's on the plane and he's so pretty.
Or when they're in the church.
It's just sort of and everything is so much more traditional. And again, that phrase, the fallacy of civilization, and it's sort of they turn into these beasts,
feral things.
Yes. Yeah. I tell you, let's see whether there's any questions, and I'm sure there might be one or two to start. Is there a microphone? So we'll go to this gentleman here, and then if there's a second microphone, just over to the hand that's up now.
Hi, I just wanted to know, you said you were using DZO lenses. What lenses were they?
They're DZO Parvo lenses.
Parvo. Okay. Yeah. And what T-stop were you at?
A lot of time wide open.
Gotcha. And on those lenses, they are?
I think they are 2.1, if I remember. Yeah.
Thank you.
And therefore the 10.8, that 10.8
exactly.
vibe.
Yeah.
And on the Venice, were you shooting on the larger
Yeah, we're
frame,
using the whole
So you got a bit more out of that as well, yes. So there's the chap in the hat.
Hi. You said you did a lot of your testing, the day for night stuff at Hampstead, but you were shooting infrared. So when you went to Malaysia, did the temperature have an adverse effect on the image?
Not really. I think it made it harder because everything was just so bright. I mean, it didn't. Yeah, I don't think it really made any difference.
So the temperature had no effect on the...
You mean the color temperature or
the actual physical temperature? Because it was infrared, I wondered if it affected... It didn't affect it like that. Okay. Mm-hmm. I love the infrared stuff, by the way. It looks terrific. Definitely works like a fever dream.
Yeah.
Anybody else at the moment? Nick in the middle here.
Very, very bold, wonderful. Loved it all the way through. I watched it on a Sony OLED, and one of the questions that comes up is, did you use the BBC version of HDR?
Oh my God!
And did you use that while you were grading? Because when I was watching it on the OLED, definitely your blacks were black and lovely. And here you could see they're just off the edge, not completely black. There's just that grey of normal projection.
So did we grade in HDR? Is that your question?
Did you? Yeah, there's sort of arguments about whether you do your main grade in HDR and then make an SDR version.
Well, Aidan is there. I don't think we graded you did an HDR grade, but we didn't do the grade in HDR, did we?
Didn't get the answer there, sorry.
I'll introduce you to Aidan in the bar afterwards.
I'll chat afterwards. The other question really was a bit about your background, which I believe you've done quite a bit of documentary and wildlife.
Well, I started off as a loader, then a focus puller, and then I really wanted a life adventure, and I loved natural history films. This was a long, long time ago. So then I became assistant to different various wildlife cameramen, and then I made a couple of films and got jobs, wildlife filming jobs of my own, and then I worked for the BBC for a long time. I did series like The Blue Planet and Planet Earth. So that would have been like 20 years ago now. And then I spent many months away. I mean, I tried to hide this for a long time because it was so hard for me to break out of going from a wildlife cameraman as a drama. As soon as people knew that I did wildlife shooting, they'd think, oh, you can't possibly shoot people, you can't possibly do this. So I spent many years hiding that fact. And it's only recently I've kind of come out of the closet. So... I would spend probably 8 months a year away from home in places like the Amazon or Congo or the Arctic, Africa.
And as soon as they find out, you end up in Langkawi in the island for 3 months.
In fact, there's some very funny readers, critics about Lord of the Flies, and one of them says it's a glorified David Attenborough film. So, someone else says I could have done better on my iPhone, which is quite ironic since some of it was actually shot on an iPhone. It's sort of David Attenborough does Apocalypse Now.
Yeah,
really, but there's like 3 shots of birds flying in the film, isn't they? Yeah.
Oh gosh.
That was my sort of progression. But yeah, I stopped shooting wildlife films in about 2002. And then I became more of a human documentary filmmaker or cameraman. And then music videos and then dramas.
And within this particular project, I was also just wondering around when you were in the early days of talking to Mark around finding the aesthetic. Were you referencing anything, or were you allowing it just to sort of bubble up? Did you?
Yeah, I mean a lot. There's one film that he came up with, Walkabout.
Yeah.
And that was probably the strongest sort of feel that I had for this.
There's that tribal element.
And just the fact that you sort of watching, you don't know what's going on, there's unknown things happening, things are not necessarily explained, and it has this sort of threatening feel to every sort of scene has they're sort of in paradise, but there's a threatening feel.
I haven't seen that for a long time, but there
Yeah.
absolutely, I can see those parallels now, yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily sort of specific visual elements, it was just the feel of that.
I mean, do you know the photographer Roger Ballon? Yeah, there's a kind of, especially with some of those masks and things, and some of the sort of the portraits when they're doing their dance on the beach.
Yeah. All that mask stuff was actually taken from, I think, a group of child soldiers in, can't remember where.
Yes.
But they found all these adult clothes that they would wear. Really strange things.
Yeah, I think I've seen some of those photos, and then there's a sort of a Francis Bacon quality at times, and sort of Joseph Conrad meets Derek Jarman. There's this wonderful mash of these sort of dystopian writers, and again, I kept on thinking of The End of Apocalypse Now, which I suppose is Joseph Conrad again. It's. I mean, I kept on seeing. What's his name coming out of the water?
Yeah, well, that was a bit of a takeoff of that shot, I have to say.
Yes, good.
Yeah.
They need honouring sometimes.
Yeah.
That's it. Anyway, do we have another question? Duncan.
Hi, Mark.
Hi.
Did you and the director have any specific plan or strategy for how to acclimatise the kind of key 4 actors, the younger actors, to your presence and the camera's presence being so close to their proximity, especially when they're acting quite emotionally? And also a second question, was it shot chronologically just for the actors' benefits, and that's it?
First off, I think the kids had about a couple of weeks rehearsals in Malaysia, so I spent the time with them there. So by the time we started shooting, I had got to know them. And also, I guess, my approach is to be very sort of hands-off, not kind of prescriptive about where they should go, or, they've got to hit that mark or be in that light. So I'm kind of quite relaxed in that sense. It's much more of a sort of observational approach, even though can be that far away from them. And it was not filmed chronologically, no. In fact, some of those, the bigger scenes, like some of the 11-page scenes, were shot over 3 weeks, because it was so impossible to schedule them all over in a day or a couple of days because of the tides. Obviously, the tides are coming in and out on those beaches, so you've only got a couple of hours to shoot really on the beach before the tide either comes in and goes out, or goes out, and you've lost all kind of continuity. So, in fact, the whole idea of lighting continuity I had to give up, because the light would just change instantly from 1 minute to the next. You can see in a lot of the scenes there's just no matching of light at all, but I had to give up on that.
Only you will notice that.
Yeah,
maybe one or two others might, but in this room, but outside of this room.
They've got a room full of cinematographers, everybody's going to notice that.
No, they won't. I guarantee you they won't. Not all of them, one or two. But no, I mean, it's, again, as long as as they say, every frame a Rembrandt. It's sort of, I think everything is so striking. That's what you're looking at. I think lighting continuity is overrated. I mean, that's what you can tell yourself in these situations.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there another question in the middle, in the back there?
Hi, Mark. Just going back to the IR question, had Sony removed the OPLF, or was the filter you used opaque, and therefore your focus puller had to remark the infrared focusing distances to the visible focusing distances?
No, well, first of all, we couldn't convert a Sony Venice to IR because we couldn't get in touch with anyone at Sony who would do that. And it seemed, so what I did, I converted a small Blackmagic pocket cinema camera to infrared by taking out its infrared filter and then replacing it with a small lens which had the same refractive index as the filter, so everything would line up. I used that as a backup camera, and then we got all our rest of our kit from Asian film equipment in Kuala Lumpur, and they converted a red Epic to infrared. So I think all the marks lined up, but there was definitely some weird things going on, which you can see, like when Simon looks up at the dead pilot, some really weird artifacts going on there, which I still haven't really got to the bottom of.
So that going back, when I said it was just a filter, it was a little bit more than just the filter.
Yeah, if it's just the filter to turn it into the aerochrome.
Into the pink.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
That's
right.
what it is. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
removing the IR thing, and shooting it on. Oh, very good. Yes. Anybody else out there? And so, okay, so no. You've obviously the IR questions have, and I think I was going to ask you a bit about when you're going into a project like this. So did you reread Lord of the Flies, because it's been a long time since I've read it, but somebody told me that it's quite an honest. It's a really good. And so did you go in depth into?
Yeah, I mean, I probably read it 2 or 3 times, and I had it with me the whole time. And Jack's script is very faithful to the book. Yeah.
And was Jack there at all?
Jack was there for the rehearsals, I think, for about 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, and again, this is going back into sort of into your prep with Mark. Were there other elements that you prepped in terms of to find the aesthetic, to to sort of the operating style? That you do these, you hold shots for a very long time. It's beautifully slowly paced. You allow things you allow the shots just to last, which is sometimes an edit thing. But obviously, Mark has gone in with an idea.
Well, that kind of came out of working with Mark on Help. We had very long handheld shots.
Right.
Developing from, when he shoots, it's not just you go into a room following a character and you walk out again. There's like 20 different cues of where the camera should be looking at a specific time. So he's incredibly prescriptive about each shot. So he wanted to kind of continue that feel in Lord of the Flies. Yeah. And so we had that as a backbone to everything, I guess.
So it sounds like there was a plan.
There was definitely a plan. Yeah, definitely a plan. But,
and a Bible, if you like. You know how some. You've got your shot list. You've got, and everybody's on board. And did you end up having to do any go back and do any pickups? Not necessarily go back or go down to Kew Gardens to the.
No, I think Mark did one shot with of Piggy or David's hand with his iPhone for like one tiny cutaway. But apart from that, everything was shot out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And were you seeing assemblies as you were shooting?
No, just seeing rushes every day.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I saw assemblies for quite a while, actually.
Gosh. And how was that when you after you saw, what was it like watching it back for the first assemblies or the first cut?
I mean, it was brilliant to see that feel was kind of coming alive. I think that the feel of sort of the daunting feel of threat the whole time.
Oh, it's definitely that.
I think,
and with it now, it's come out.
But having said that, the IR was still a mystery. It was still not. It wasn't. I think it probably wasn't until we got back with Aiden that we sort of nailed it. I don't even know about nailed it, but just got somewhere with it.
I mean, I think you nailed it. But But again, it's this imperfection that's so that makes it. And I think, again, I just can't get over, I've said it, I'm going to say it again, how everything I've seen recently on television is feeling the same. Everything I see in the cinema is kind of has a look to it, and this blows everything out of the water. And what's up for you next?
A long holiday. Yeah. I've just spent 6 months on another project, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got a summer.
I mean, this was like 2 years ago now, so I've had a whole life in between then and now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, listen, I'm gonna wrap it up.
Thank you very much.
Unless there's another question, we can. Oh, there's a shy hand coming up.
Thank you very much, Mark. You presenting the impressive work for us. I really enjoy it. And when I'm watching it, there's Jack and Simon, totally different character. And do you, use a different technique or a way of filming to present their different character?
I mean, there's definitely something there definitely something in my head that represents them in a different way, in a kind of operating style. But I couldn't really tell you what that is. It's just, I think if you read the book enough and read the script enough, all that information goes in there. I'm not kind of aware of precisely how I'm doing it, but there's definitely a different way of presenting. I mean, all the characters are presented in a slightly different way. But for me, that's more sort of subliminal, I guess maybe the word is, or unconscious, possibly. Yeah, I'm not really conscious. I mean, haven't lit them in a different way. Yeah.
But I mean, just following on that a little bit, were there kind of rules that you had when working with the kids, that you wouldn't come above the eye line or something, or with particular boys or?
Again, I don't think I had specific rules, but there were different ways of doing it, which I couldn't necessarily verbalize, put into words rather.
Yes,
yeah.
But I mean, is that sort of that instinctive?
Yeah, I guess more of an instinctive.
Yes,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I am going to call it now. But thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you very much.
And this and. Thank you.